Do you have no idea what type of repeating weapon to put on your ship in Star Citizen? Well, you're not alone. For a long time, I had no idea what weapons to put on there either. I wish I had a video like the one you're about to watch when I was still doing my research. So guys, if you haven't guessed it, this is Fist-25, and this is going to be a 7-episode arc on weapons in Star Citizen. The very first one is on repeaters, lasers, ballistics, distortion. And the video is going to come at you right now. Hey folks, Fist-25 back here, and as you can see up on the screen, this video is all about weapons in Star Citizen. Now, this is the first episode of what I've planned out to be a 7-episode arc dealing with weapons and talking about them and kind of going over the stats and what they look like and just my general thoughts and opinions on them mixed with some hard stats. Now, we're going to use StarCitizen.tools, which is basically the Star Citizen wiki, and we're also going to use my favorite website, Oracle.games, to grab some of the stats from these weapons. So I wanted to do this for a long time, and I'm finally kind of getting around to getting it going, because I have researched weapons for a long time, and I haven't found a lot of good videos on it. And so what I have found, I've taken to heart, and then with my experience in the game in the last year, I wanted to make something that I think other people would enjoy. So without further ado, we're going to take off and do episode 1, which is all about repeaters. Now, this is laser repeaters, distortion repeaters, ballistic repeaters, and ballistic Gatling guns. There's quite a lot of them. So let's get started. Okay. So, our very first laser repeater, we're going to do this by size, right? So we're going to do all the size 1s, then I think we're going to do 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s. Then we're going to do all the lasers first, then we're going to do ballistics, and then we're going to do distortions, but it's going to be by size in each category. So the very first one here is the Hurston Dynamics Attrition 1 laser repeater. The Attrition 1 laser repeater features Hurston Dynamics' unique cascade technology, which provides increased performance while sustained laser fire is maintained. The result is a size 1 weapon that rewards a deft operator. So as you can see on the stats here on the right-hand side, the Hurston Attrition series, which by the way can only be bought in Lorville at the Hurston Dynamics building, the real big building there. And this specific laser retails for 3,800 alpha UVC per unit. There's 2 damage states for the Attrition 1. The very first one is when the laser is basically at 300 degrees, which I think is its default operating temperature. And the DPS, or damage per second, if you didn't know what that means, is 224 damage per second. When this laser heats up, it does, up at 700 degrees, which is its maximum, it does 276 DPS. So it will vary in between there, depending on the heat of your weapon. The thing with all repeaters really is that they have high DPS because you're repeating a lot of shots pretty quickly, but they have low alpha damage. And alpha damage is basically how much damage they do per hit, whereas DPS is a measurement of damage over time. So the alpha damage at 300 degrees for the Attrition 1 is 41. At 700 degrees, it's 50. So I really look at the 700 degree statistics because it's a repeater. You're going to keep your finger on the trigger, right? So 276 and 50. Now, the further away you get from the target, the more your DPS will drop because this is a laser, right? Doesn't quite make any sense why it would decrease, but nevertheless, it does. So your DPS will start to drop at 300 meters, and then at every 0.55 meters, then you'll have another DPS drop. So I don't want to get too much into the math or statistics of it, but your DPS minimum, which is at 507 meters, you do 110 DPS at 300 degrees. At 700 degrees, you do 110 DPS at 603 meters. So you want to be fairly close to use this weapon. The fire rate is 330 rounds per minute, so it actually fires really fast. I don't want to get into overpower multipliers. Well, maybe a little bit. Okay, so if it's overclocked, it multiplies the damage by 1.5. So pretty good damage output if it's overclocked. I think some weapons are more powerful overclocked than others. But remember, you're going to overheat that weapon it's at a rate of 1.2, so it's going to overheat much faster when it's overclocked. The Attrition 1 has a range of 1286 meters, and if you're at 1286, you're probably not going to be doing a whole lot of damage, just because the DPS drops off. And your speed is of the projectile of the laser is 1072 meters per second. It shoots 1 pellet per shot. I'm not worried about spread. We're not really talking about a scattergun here. And let's see here. It has our overpower performance is at 17%. Overclock is 18%. If you're a stealth game player, the power to EM is 2.35. And it decays at 0.2. And the temperature to the IR is 4.9. The gun itself has a health rating, has a certain number of hit points before it gets destroyed. Not that we can really track that. You can track your health of the weapon. If you go into the weapons tab and you search it, you'll see if it's going to get, like, how much damage it's taken itself, just even by firing. And then it has on here distortion damage and distortion recovery time. I'm not quite sure why that's on a laser. It's not a distortion weapon, so I'm not the expert in stats here, but there you go. The Attrition 1 laser repeater. The next size 1 laser repeater is from Max Ox. It is called the NDB-26. It is a neutron laser repeater, so it shoots out a neutron laser. The NDB-26 uses a twin barrel system to fire neutron projectiles at a rapid rate. Devastating at close range, this neutron repeater still packs enough of a wallop at medium range to persuade any attackers to reconsider their assault. I used to use the neutrons here exclusively before the attritions kind of got fixed in 311, I think. These were the guns of choice. I would say right now they are kind of the mid-range gun. They are actually more expensive than the attritions. You can buy them at numerous places like Area 18 and New Babbage. They go for 4,400 Alpha UEC each. They are much better close up, right? They are the closer you are, the more damage you're going to do. They're obviously a size 1 weapon. They do 236 DPS with an alpha damage of 79. Your DPS drop per meter is 0.153, and your drop distance starts at 0. So the further away you get from 0, the more you're going to drop DPS. Your DPS minimum is 175 at 400 meters. Its fire rate is 180 rounds per minute. The overpower performance is 17%. The overclock performance is 18%. It's got a range of 1286. It's got a speed of 1072 meters a second. It shoots 1 pellet per shot. For stealth gameplay, its power to EM is 2.35. Decays at 0.15. It adds to IR at 5.9. So this is, I would say, the NDB series itself, the whole series. There's 3 lasers. There's size 1, 2, and 3. And it's a 26, 28, and 30. The whole series is a very good close-up. And they are actually a different color, too. The attritions and the the Badger, or I'm sorry, the CF series, they shoot like a red laser beam. The Macox stuff here is the Neutrons shoot like a blue laser beam. I would say it's the middle of the road type of gun, though. I used to use it with really good effectiveness, but I have just moved on to the Attrition series, and I prefer those. Okay, so our next weapons is the CF series I was just mentioning. It is manufactured by Klaus and Werner, or Werner, but I like to say Werner. This size 1 is called a CF-117 Bulldog laser repeater. Featuring a 3-barrel sequential fire design, the Klaus and Werner CF-117 Bulldog laser repeater is capable of delivering high-velocity energy rounds while maintaining heat efficiency, making it a favorite among new pilots who are outfitting their first ship. So these are, I believe, the cheapest out of all the weapons, and I'm sorry, out of all the laser repeating weapons. Anyway, they're good weapons. They have the longest range. So if you like to shoot at range, these are definitely better for you. You can buy these for Area 18 and New Babbage for $31.45 Alpha UEC, and at Crew L5 it goes for $3,700. So it's a little more expensive over at Crew L5. Its DPS is 196, which is the lowest. Its alpha damage is 36. Its fire rate is 325 rounds per minute. Its overpower performance is 16%. Overclock performance is 20%. So it sounds like it overclocks better than the other weapons. The range is 1327 meters. The speed is 1206 meters per second. Its power to EM is really low at 1.47. Decay rate of 0.2. Temperature to IR is 4.9. So I think those are also the lowest numbers as far as stealth goes. So if you want range and stealth, which kind of go together, right? Because when you're trying to stealth, you want range. And you want to use a laser repeater, and you're in the size 1 market, then this is the repeater for you. Let's move on to our next weapon. So we're still in laser repeaters. Now we're talking about the Hurston Dynamics Attrition 2 laser repeater. When the battle is heating up, that's when Hurston Dynamics Cascade laser technology really shines. With the size 2 Attrition 2 repeater, an operator can utilize sustained bursts of laser fire in order to translate excess heat into greater weapon performance. So again, just like all the other Attrition series, the longer you shoot, the more the weapon heats up, the more damage it does. So this size 2 weapon at 300 degrees does 333 damage. At 700 degrees does 411 damage. That is a significant upgrade from a size 1. Its alpha damage is 64 at 300 degrees and 80 at 700 degrees. It's pretty much the same DPS drops, but with more with a higher DPS minimum at 103 at the 744 meters and 895 meters for 700 degrees. Its fire rate is 310 rounds per minute. Its range is 1712. Its speed is 1223. It overpowers at 17%. Overclock 18%. I do not recommend overclocking the Attritions. If you're in for a quick fight, maybe, but it's just not worth the heat buildup, because once they get hot and they shut down, I mean, that's no fun for anybody. Its power to EM is 2.35, decay rate of 0.2, temperature to the infrared is 7, and it's got more hit points. You can buy this in Lorville on Planet Hurston for 6,950 Alpha UVC. So again, it's just an incremental step up from the Attrition 1. It's a significant upgrade in my mind. Attrition 2s are good all-around laser. 411 is quite a good number for DPS. Moving on to our next weapon, we have the NDB-28 from Maxox, the neutron laser repeater. Featuring a sleek scientific design, the Maxox NDB-28 is the next step in serious stopping power. Twin barrels overlap blasts for sustained neutron fire that remains effective at short to medium range. Again, this is not as powerful as the Attrition, but it is better closer up, right? So you'll lose less damage the closer up you go as compared to the CF or the Attrition series. The DPS is 356. Alpha is 126 damage. The DPS drop start distance is 600 meters, so that's a significant improvement over a size 1 and the other two lasers. The DPS minimum is 263 to 1,000 meters. Fire rate is 170 rounds per minute. The overpower performance is 17%. Overclock performance is 18%. Again, I think those are the lowest overclock percentages. Its range is 1286 meters. Its speed is 1072 meters per second. Its power to EM is 3.36, decay rate of 0.15. Temperature to the IR is much higher now at 8.4, so much higher infrared here. You can buy this weapon. Urkel still has Levski on there. You can't buy the Levski because Levski's not in the game anymore. But you can buy this at New Babbage. I believe you can buy it at Tammany and Sons at Hurston and at Crew L5 for 7,650 Alpha UVC. Again, this is a medium range to really close range weapon. I used to use it exclusively. I don't use it anymore. Yeah, I use the Attrition series. But still, a very good all-around weapon. I still have a ton of them sitting in my inventory. The next weapon on our list is the Klausenwerner CF-227 Badger Laser Repeater. The CF-227 Badger is Klausenwerner's dependable size 2 repeating laser. Its increased output and high rate of fire make it a solid contender in any fight. And that's true. It does. It's still a good laser. It again, just like the other Klausenwerner lasers, it has the lowest stealth numbers, and it has the highest range, but it also has the lowest damage. This size 2 laser does 294 DPS with 59 alpha damage. Fire rate is 300 rounds per minute. And notice there is no, same with the size 1, there is no DPS drop for your range like the other two weapons. So the 227 is just as effective at its max range of 1712 meters as it is at 0 meters. Its range is 1712 meters, and its speed is 1223 meters per second. Its overclock performance is 20%. Overpower performance is 16%. Its power to the EM is 2.1, still really low. Decay rate of 0.2. But the temperature of the IR, they keep going up. So now it's 7. So when it gets hot, hey, people are probably going to see your IR signature. Now, typically, if you're trying to stealth, you keep your weapons off until you're ready to go. And as soon as it's real fast. Your weapons come online really quick in these ships, so keep your weapons off until you get that guy targeted, and then boom, launch your missiles and come in for the kill. You can buy the laser repeaters at Area 18, New Babbage, and Crew L5 for either 5,228 Alpha UVC or Crew L5 for 6,150 UVC. Let's move on to the next weapon. Oh, what do you know? Hurston Dynamics, the Attrition 3 laser repeater, the next size up for the Attrition series. Rather than limiting their weapon's performance to increase stability, Hurston Dynamics Cascade technology allows the operator to decide. While overheating is a risk, longer periods of sustained fire with the Attrition 3 will increase performance as excess heat is translated into greater energy output. So this size 3 laser repeater does a DPS at 300 degrees at 499, which is really high. At 700 degrees, 616 DPS. Alpha damage is 103 at 300 degrees and 128 at 700 degrees. Its DPS drop starts at 300 meters. It drops at almost 0.5 per meter. That's minimum DPS is 97. And then depending on the heat, it'll change the range on that. Fire rate is 290 rounds per minute. The overpower performance, 17%. Overclock performance is 18%. The range, 2,108. So again, the bigger the weapon, the higher the range. Speed is 1,240 meters per second. The power to EM is 2.35, decay rate of 0.2, and temperature to IR is 9.1. So now we're up in the 9s in infrared heat. And you can buy this weapon at Hurston in Lorville for 12,000 Alpha UVC. Let's move on to the next repeater. This is the Max Ox NDB 30. So the neutron laser repeater. This is the last in the line of the Maxox neutron repeaters. It does not go higher than a size 3. Decades of design work went into perfecting the NDB line of neutron repeaters. The size 3 NDB-30 rapidly fires powerful and precise neutron projectiles that will quickly deter anyone foolish enough to get too close. So they keep saying this is medium range, and they mean it because the DPS drop for this weapon starts at 600 meters. Whereas with the Attrition series, they all start at 300 meters. So I would dare say that the Attrition series, now that I'm looking at the stats, is the best weapon for under 300 meters close in because it has the highest DPS. If you want to go medium range, go for the NDB series. If you want to go long range, go for the CF series. The NDB 30 size 3 does 532 DPS and 200 alpha damage per hit. Its DPS drop starts at 600 meters. It drops about 0.34 per meter with a DPS minimum of 393 and 1,000 meters. 1,000 meters is a pretty good distance. Fire rate of 160 RPM. Its overpower performance, 17%. Overclock performance is 18%. It's got a range of 1,286 meters, a speed of 1072 meters per second. Its power to EM is 4.37, decay rate of 0.15. And temperature to infrared is 10.9, so now we're almost to 11. So this weapon does have a lot of infrared. You can pick up this weapon at Area 18, New Babbage, or Crew L5 for 13,950 Alpha UBC. The next weapon on our list, the Klausenwerner CF-337 Panther Laser Repeater, which is a size 3. The CF-337 Panther is the size 3 model of Klausenwerner's laser repeater line. Panther is a true fire and forget weapon with a respectable power consumption to damage ratio. Pilots who operate the ships with Panthers rarely regret the decision. And I haven't. Regretted, anyway. I've definitely outfitted with 337s. I used to fly with them constantly. They do have really good range. This size 3 weapon has 440 DPS with alpha damage at 96 per shot, the lowest. Fire rate 275 RPM. The overpower performance is 16%, overclock performance at 20%. So that means also, guys, you can overclock the CF series and have longer fire before it overheats. The range of this weapon is 2,108 meters with a speed of 1,240 meters per second. The power to EM is 2.73, still really low. Decay rate of 0.2 and temperature to IR of 9.1. So the IR still is getting up there, but the EM signature is pretty low. You can pick this weapon up at Area 18, New Babbage, HRL2, and HRL4 for either 8,925 Alpha UBC or HRL2 and HRL4 for 10,500 Alpha UBC. Overall, it's a good weapon. It's got the range, it's got low EM. So, you know, it's the best overclocker when you have to overclock. So there's a lot of good things going on. It just has the lowest damage output. So that's why I don't use the CF series anymore. Moving on to size 4s. The Hurston Dynamics Attrition 4 laser repeater. Hurston Dynamics has fully integrated its Cascade laser technology into their Attrition line of repeaters. The size 4 Attrition 4 is no exception, operating at peak performance when near its maximum thermal capacity. So at 300 degrees, the size 4 laser repeater will be 749 DPS. It'll do 925 DPS at 700 degrees. So now we're starting to see a little bit bigger of a split between the temperatures. The alpha damage at 300 degrees is 166. Alpha damage at 700 degrees is 206 damage. The DPS drop distance is 300 meters, again the lowest. It drops about 0.45 per meter with a minimum of 90 DPS. At either 300 degrees is 1764, it's at 700 degrees is 2155 meters. Fire rate's 270, overpower performance 17%, overclock performance 18%, which I believe those are the lowest. Its range is 4,000 meters, so you can shoot this weapon pretty darn far out now that we're into size 4s. Its speed is 1675, so it's faster than the size 3. The power to the EM is 2.35, decay rate of 0.2, and the temperature to IR is 11.2. You can pick this weapon up in Lorville for 25,200 Alpha UBC. Again, for my ships that have size 4s, I exclusively use this, and because I do tend to get pretty close when I dogfight. So I think it really depends on your dogfighting style of what kind of weapons you should be using. Moving on to the next weapon, it is the class inverter CF-447. Remember, I said there was no size 4 in DB. So the class inverter CF-447 is called the Rhino laser repeater. When a ship comes charging at you with CF-447 Rhino strapped on, it is an experience few pilots will ever forget. This formidable size 4 laser repeater from class inverter is well suited for medium range engagements, but packs a wallop up close. So this size 4 weapon does 660 DPS with an alpha of 159 alpha damage. Fire rate's 250 rounds per minute. Its overpower performance, 16%. Overclock performance at 20%. Its range, 4,000 meters, about the same as the Attrition. Speed is 1675 meters a second, which I believe is slower than the Attrition. The power to EM is 3.36, decay rate of 0.2, temperature to IR 11.2. You can pick this laser up at new Babbage for 18,913 alpha UEC, which is the lowest price. Or you can pick it up at HURL 2, HURL 3, or HURL 5 for 22,250 alpha UEC. So I like this weapon. I used to use it a lot, but the Attrition is just superior in all ways. Similar range. The Attrition has higher DPS. Just got to get hot, but it does have a DPS drop, which the CF series does not. Let's move on to the next size 5s. So the Attrition does go up to size 6. We're not going to cover any size 6 weapons because there's no ship in the game that can carry a size 6. More than a simple size 5 laser repeater, the Attrition 5 from Hurston Dynamics features advanced cascade technology to allow the weapon significant performance improvements the longer it sustains its energy output. We've heard that over and over. Its DPS for the size 5 laser repeater is 1126. At 300 degrees, at 700 degrees, it's 1391. Alpha damage at 300 degrees is 250. Alpha damage at 700 degrees is 309. The DPS drop start distance again is 300 meters, so it wants you to get in fairly close for this weapon. The DPS drop per meter is 0.45. It does a minimum DPS of 90 at 300 degrees and 700 degrees at either 2,600 meters or 3,190 meters. Fire rate is 270 rounds per minute. Power performance 17%. Overclock performance 18%. The range went up from basically 4,000 to 4,500, and the speed is now 1875 meters per second. So it's longer range and it's faster. Its power to EM is 2.35. Its decay rate is 0.2, and its temperature to IR is 13.3. You can pick this bad baby up in Lorville at Hurston Dynamics for 41,000 alpha UEC. So 1391 DPS is pretty darn good. Let's compare that with our 4,500 range to the next weapon, the class inverter CF-557 Galdereen laser repeater. With a bite as fearsome as its fanged namesake, the class inverter CF-557 Galdereen laser repeater is a solid choice for a wide range of vehicles thanks to its high rate of fire and consistent efficacy. So this size 5 weapon does 990 DPS, so definitely less than the 1300 that the Hurston Dynamics Attrition 5 does. It does 264 alpha damage at 225 rounds per minute. It's got overpower performance of 16%, overclock performance of 20%. It's got a range of 5,250 meters, so significantly more range than the Attrition 5. But it has significantly less speed at 700 meters a second. Its power to EM is 3.99, which I think is actually higher. I think all these CF series is higher EM, maybe? I don't know. I'll have to go back and look. Decay rate is 0.2, temperature to IR is 13.3. You can pick these weapons up at Area 18, New Babbage, or what used to be Levski, now is Tammany & Sons at Lorville, for 31,748 alpha UEC, or in Lorville, it should be 37,350 alpha UEC. So again, the higher DPS, I would still go with the Attrition 5. So I believe that's it for our actual laser repeaters. Now we're going to move into the ballistic repeaters section, starting off with size 1s. Now, there is a difference between a ballistic repeater and a Gatling gun, even though they're both ballistic. The repeaters, there's only 3 of them. All 3 of them are made by bearing. bearing apply technology. I got to get the whole company in there. And then the ballistic Gatling guns have a couple different manufacturers. The ballistic repeaters only go up to size 3. The very first one is the SW16BR1, the Buzzsaw ballistic repeater. Firing from 2 barrels, the SW16BR1 Buzzsaw can overwhelm aggressors at medium to close range. Bearing's expert craftsmanship allows the weapon to engage and sustain firefights before needing a cooldown, making it an excellent entry-level ballistic repeater. So definitely for ballistics, you need ballistics in this game because, I mean, you can kill people with just lasers, and I've done that on many ships. But the ballistics actually, when they penetrate the shields, they actually hit the hull and they penetrate the hull. So that's a big feature for the ballistics. 2, they're a lot more stealthy, right? They're almost no electronic signature to ballistics. Whereas with lasers, there's a lot more because, you know, they need energy to fire. So I definitely recommend a combination of either a ballistic repeater or a ballistic Gatling, mostly ballistic Gatlings because they have a higher DPS, paired with some kind of laser repeater, usually an Attrition series. So let's go over the stats for the Buzzsaw. Size 1, DPS is 200. The alpha damage is 38 alpha damage per shot. Fire rate is 320 rounds per minute. The overpower performance 16%, overclock performance 22%. The range is 2,345 meters with a speed of 938 meters a second. So that's pretty good. Range is actually pretty good for size 1. Ammo count, it has 380. It shoots 1 pellet per shot. Now, I mean, I think the drawback with the ballistic repeaters compared to the ballistic Gatlings is that overall the ammo count is holding it back. You can fire the ballistic repeater, or I'm sorry, the ballistic Gatling longer and get more fire on it and a higher, which is why it has a higher DPS than you can a ballistic repeater. But the ballistic repeater does more alpha damage per shot, and it's still quick. I mean, obviously the cannons do the most alpha damage per shot, but the repeaters, out of all the ballistic repeaters, the actual bearing ones do the most alpha damage. So, and they're still pretty quick. They're just not as quick as a Gatling gun. The power to the EM is 0.84, so very low, under 1. Decay rate is 0.5. The temperature to the IR is 5.6, so it still generates some heat. You can buy this weapon either at Grimhex, Area 18, or New Babbage for 6,500 Alpha UVC. Let's move on to the next bearing repeater, which is the size 2, which is the SW16BR2 Sawbuck ballistic repeater. The Sawbuck is Bearing's contribution to the expanding ballistic repeater market. Its sequential firing double barrel configuration offers an effective middle ground for operators looking for a higher rate of fire than a cannon, but without the fear of overheating that you would get with a Gatling. Gatlings do overheat. They fire much faster, so they overheat faster. But then again, they do a higher DPS than these ballistic repeaters, but the ballistic repeaters do a higher alpha damage. So it kind of depends on the way you fight and the style that you fight at. This may be a better choice than the ballistic repeater, or ballistic Gatling. Keep getting tongue-tied here. So the DPS for this guy is 299. Alpha damage is 64. Fire rate is 280 rounds per minute. The overpower performance, 16%. Overclock performance, 22%. I do not recommend overclocking these guys, but I would rather overclock a ballistic repeater than I would a ballistic Gatling. The range for this guy is 2,111 meters, so not that much from the size 1, but it's still good. And the speed is 1,005 meters a second, so the bullets are getting faster. The ammo count is 400 with 1 pellet per shot. Again, the ammo count is what holds these guys back. The power to EM is 0.84, so still under 1. The decay rate is 0.5, and the temperature to IR is 5.6, so still very low temperature to IR, very low power to EM. So, I mean, if you have like an Eclipse, your 2 weapons that are on there should probably be either ballistic repeaters or ballistic Gatlings, because they're the most stealthy out of the weapons. And yes, you can destroy a ship just with ballistics. You don't have to take down the shields with the lasers or the distortion cannons. Some of those bullets are actually going to penetrate the shield and damage the ship, even though the shield's still up. But a combination, I think, is better if you're going to go all guns. You can pick this size 2 weapon up at Dumpers Depot Area 18, Referral 5, Center Mass at Area 18, or New Babbage for either 8400 off of UEC or 8748 off of UEC. Let's talk about our next weapon, the size 3 ballistic repeater and the last ballistic repeater, the Bearing SW16BR3 Shredder ballistic repeater. Blast your way out of trouble with this Bearing size 3 ballistic repeater. The SW16BR3 Shredder distributes heat across both barrels to keep it firing when needed most. The weapon's shock grouping and damage fall off make it the most deadly at medium or close range. So this size 3 weapon does 448 DPS at 112 alpha damage. Fire rate 240 rounds per minute. Overpower performance 16%, overclock performance 22%. Range is 2,734. So even with the size 3, we don't cross into that 3,000 meter range. The speed went up to 1,139 meters a second. The ammo count's pretty much the same. It's a little bit more. It's 480 rounds, and pellets per shot is 1. So with each gun, you basically get a 40 round upgrade. You get a little bit more rounds. Its power to EM 0.84, still really low. Decay rate of 0.5. Temperature to infrared 5.6. So still really good for a stealth build. You can pick up this size 3 ballistic repeater at Corral 5 and Area 18 Dumpers Depot for 15,650 alpha UEC, or at Center Mass Area 18 or Center Mass New Babbage for 16,299. Now, let's move on to the ballistic gatlings. The first one up is the size 1, the Galdereen Tactical Yellow Jacket GT-210 ballistic gatling. And so all the size 1, size 2, size 3 ballistic gatlings, there's 3 of them that are made by Galdereen. And then there's 2 more, one by Apocalypse Arms, my favorite, the Revenant. And then there's a size 3 made, I think, by Kruger, and it's called the Tigerstrike. And there used to be a size 2 by Kruger, but that you can't get that in the game anymore for some reason. So, without further ado, let's talk about the GT-210. While the GT-210 Yellow Jacket may be small, it packs a mighty sting. The high-speed ballistic weapon is perfect for targeting smaller, more mobile targets, and its DTX-8 ammo supply system almost completely eliminates weapon jams due to bad rounds. We're definitely going to see more weapon jams and weapon malfunctions as the game progresses. I think they're going to start mostly with FPS stuff, but they'll probably move into ships as well. So this is a size 1 ballistic gatling. The DPS is 213. Alpha damage is 16 per round. So higher DPS because it fires so much faster, but very low alpha damage per round because I believe the rounds are actually smaller. The fire rate, speaking of that, is 800 rounds per minute. So a very high fire rate. Its overpower performance is 50%, overclock performance 30%. So you do get a lot more performance when you overclock. However, this thing's going to heat up real fast, and you're not going to get very long performance when you overclock. Its range is 1747 meters with a speed of 1120 meters per second. So under 2,000 range with a very fast bullet speed. Its ammo count is 7,200 rounds and 1 pellet per shot. So again, that's why it says such a high DPS, because you have a high ammo count, you have a high fire rate, low alpha damage, but still a good DPS. That's why I use ballistic gatlings almost exclusively when I need a ballistic. Its power to the EM is 0.55, very low. Decay rate to EM 0.5. And its temperature to IR is 4.2, which I believe is even lower than the ballistic repeaters. So, all in all, I believe this is a superior weapon to the ballistic repeaters, even with a larger target. And it adds the ability to also see kind of tracers with all the repeaters, you can see where you're firing, and it's not like a cannon where it's, you know, you can still see the cannon where it's like blam, blam. But with the repeaters, you kind of can guide your aim a little bit if you need to, so, especially if you don't fire with auto gimbals. You can pick this weapon up at HURL-4 or HURL-5 for 4,600 Alpha UEC, or at Center Mass and New Bavingston Area 18 for 5,379 Alpha UEC. The next weapon is a size 2 ballistic Gatling, again by Galdereen Tactical. It is called the Scorpion. It is the GT-215 ballistic Gatling. The Scorpion is a hydraulically driven Gatling-type rotary cannon designed to deliver smaller rounds at a very high rate of fire. The Scorpion is designed to shred armor on very fast targets, sacrificing power for absolute saturation of the target area. It does a DPS of 318, so getting up there, getting high, with an alpha damage of 21, so a little bit higher than size 1, of course, because it's a size 2. Even higher fire rate of 900 rounds per minute, so even faster than the size 1. Overpower performance, 50%. Overclock performance at 30%. The range is 2139 meters. The speed is 1316 meters per second. Ammo count is 8,000, so 800 more than size 1, with 1 pellet per shot. It's a little bit higher with power to EM at 0.78. Decay rate is the same at 0.5, and the temperature to IR is a 6. So a little bit higher temperature now, too. You can pick this bad boy up at HURL-3 or HURL-4 for 7,850 Alpha UEC, or Center Mass at New Bavingston Area 18 at 9,179 Alpha UEC. Let's talk about the third size 3 ballistic Gatling. One of 2 of them. The first one is made by Galdereen Tactical. It is called the Mantis GT-220. It's a ballistic Gatling gun. The Mantis GT-220 is a hydraulically driven Gatling-type rotary cannon designed to deliver smaller rounds at a very high rate of fire, similar to the previous size 2 weapon. The Mantis is designed to shred armor on very fast targets, sacrificing power for absolute saturation of the target area. I wish they would have done something different with that. It's a regurgitation. This size 3 weapon does a DPS of 480, so very nice on damage. Alpha damage is 29. Fire rate is even faster at 1,000 rounds per minute. Overpower performance is the same at 50%. Overclock performance is the same at 30%. Range, now we're above the 2,000s. We're at 2,366 meters, so actually a really good range. Speed is 1,400 meters a second, so even faster. Ammo count is 4,000, so significantly more bullets here. But it does fire faster, guys, so it should have more bullets, but it fires faster. Pellets per shot is still 1. The power to the EM is, we're finally over a 1. It's 1.01. Decay rate is 0.5. Temperature to IR is 7.8. So the IR is going up. You can buy this weapon at QL5 for 13,500 Alpha UEC, or at Center Mass in New Bavingston Area 18 for 15,786 Alpha UEC. So keep in mind this DPS at 480, fire rate at 1,000. And when we talk about our next weapon, which is the Kruger Intergalactic Tigerstrike T-21 Ballistic Gatling. So the DPS for the T-21 is 453 with a little bit higher fire rate of 1075. Simply put, the Tigerstrike T-21 from Kruger is an equalizer. This high-speed rotary cannon is capable of delivering a relentless stream of rounds on target with a minimal chance of weapon jam, making it an essential addition to any arsenal. Again, DPS of 453, alpha damage of 25 alpha damage, fire rate of 1075, so it fires faster than the GT-220. The overpower performance is 50%, overclock performance is 30%, same as the 220. Range of 2,354, so really close to that. Speed of 1393, so it's actually faster. Ammo count of 4,000, which is the same. Power to EM 1.01, which is very similar. Decay rate 0.5, temperature to IR 7.8, which I think is a little bit lower. So why would you get a T-21? Well, back in the day when before we had convergence for our weapons, if you had weapons with different speeds, you would have more than one pip. You would have one pip for one speed and one pip for the other speed. And you kind of have to, either get them to line up or set some of your weapons with gimbals so that it would automatically move for you. Um, you could have a mix of some fixed, some gimbaled, which you can still do today, and you could still end up having more than one pip even today. So the whole key was having a certain type of weapon speed, not the speed of the RPM of the weapon, but how fast the projectiles leave the weapon, whether it's lasers or ballistics. And you had to try to get those as close as you could. That way, when you were firing without auto gimbals, you wouldn't have, you might still have two pips, but they would be so close to each other that it wouldn't matter. So really, you just have one pip. So that was one, in my opinion, is the reason these other type of guns exist, other than just commercial competition. So you can pick up the Tigerstrike T-21 at Dumpers Depot, and Crew L5 for 13,000 Alpha UEC, or at Center Mass New Baggage for 14,189 UEC. And I do note that there's it's almost like there's a piece missing from the T-21, as you can probably see on the video here. It doesn't look like it's fully mounted correctly, or it's missing a piece on the weapon. So it kind of looks weird, and it looks even weirder when it's mounted on a gimbal. So I tend to go with the Mantis GT-220 for the higher DPS. And now we are on to the only size 4 ballistic Gatling, which is the Apocalypse Arms Revenant ballistic Gatling. This is probably my favorite gun in the entire game, except in patch 3.12.1, because the muzzle flash on this weapon is so bright that it will just mess you up when you're firing it. So if I put it on an Avenger Titan, which that mount for that weapon sits right under the nose, the muzzle flash is so bright I can't see to fly. And because it fires so fast, it's like basically a constant stream of light, and I just can't see anything. So it's rough. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if you want it broke, aim a Revenant at it. Solidly built on a foundation of centuries-old tech, Apocalypse Arms puts an innovative spin on the battle-tested designs to create a rugged ballistic Gatling that can steadily hurtle death across the void, which it does. Though it's slow to spin up and cool down, the Revenant's dependability makes it a favorite for those expecting to find trouble. So the DPS on this size 4 ballistic Gatling is 672, which is really good. An alpha damage of 31. A fire rate of 1,300 rounds per minute. Overpower performance of 50%. Overclock performance of 30%. A range of 3,713 meters. So actually really, really good range. And a speed of 1,680 meters a second with an ammo count of 5,000. 1 pellet per shot. Power to EM is 1.25. Decay rate of 0.5. Temperature to the IR 9.6. So now we're in the 9s for temps. You can pick this guy up at either Port Olisar for 42,879, or her L3 or her L4 for 42,950 Alpha UEC. And there's just something about this gun. It's amazing. However, when it is mounted on a ship, the Apocalypse Arms logo is upside down, if you notice that. I don't know if that was by design or that was just a faux pas or whatever, but interesting. So let's look at the next weapon, the Associated Science and Development, or ASAD, the DR model XJ1 Distortion repeaters. Power is the lifeblood of every ship, and the DR model XJ1 from ASD is the ideal choice to bleed hostiles dry. The cutting-edge Distortion repeater allows you to disrupt power on targets, disabling threats efficiently. So, Distortion repeaters, guess what? They do not disable targets. They do not kill targets either. They do not actually do damage. What they do is take down shields ridiculously fast. So think of it almost like as an EMP type of weapon. EMP in a gun. It'll hit the spaceship or whatever you're fighting, and it will only attack the shields. So it'll bring shields down really, really fast, and then you got to rely on other weapons or missiles to finish off your target. So I have tested this, and even though the stats say there's a DPS and alpha damage, I believe that is just towards shields. So with the Distortion repeater, if you actually want to kill your target, you're going to have to combine it with some kind of other weapon. This size 1 Distortion Repeater has a DPS of 208, alpha damage of 39, I guess, to the shields. Fire rate of 320. Overpowered performance of 12%. Overclock performance of 26%. Fire rate of 320. I don't know if I said that. Its range is 1508 meters. Speed is 1005 meters a second. Power to EM is 3.92. So we're already starting off pretty high EM signature. Decay rate of 0.25. Temperature to IR is 4.5. So actually a pretty high IR temp too. So if you're using distortions, you're probably not going to be stealth. You can pick this guy up at Area 18 and New Babbage at Center Mass for 1450 Alpha UEC, or at Port Olisar for 1453. Whopping 3 more Alpha UEC. So the use of distortions, you just got to use them in conjunction with another weapon, but they are super effective if you do want to go the route to where you are sacrificing a damage dealing weapon for a weapon that just brings down shields. Okay, let's talk about the size 2. This is the Associated Science and Development DR Model XJ2. Advancing the field of distortion weapons, the DR Model XJ2 Repeater from ASD provides tactical energy disruption that will severely limit any targeted ship's operational capacity. It does a DPS of 374, alpha damage of 76 to the shields, fire rate of 295, overpowered performance of 12%, overclock of 26%. Range is 2211, so size 2 we're already in 2000s for the range. The speed is 1474. Power to EM is 5.6. Decay rate of 0.25. Temperature of 6.4. You can pick this guy up at Hurl 3 and Port Olisar for basically 3,000 Alpha UEC. And let's talk about the final weapon in the repeater category, the size 3 Associated Science and Development DR Model XJ3 Distortion Repeater. Shut down hostile actions and target power supplies with the DR Model XJ3, a well-ranged distortion repeater developed by the Advanced Weapons Research Labs of ASD. It does a DPS, a really high DPS of 541 with an alpha damage of 116 to the shields. Fire rate, 280 rounds per minute. Overpowered performance is 12%. Overclock performance is 26%. Its range is 2312, so not that much higher than the size 2. Speed of 1,541 meters a second. Power to EM pretty high at 7.28. Decay rate of EM 0.25. Temperature to IR is 0.4. So actually, IR temp is super low. That may be an issue or a typo, but you know, maybe it's not. Maybe that's a actual bug in the game, that there's really no IR with a size 3 distortion. You can pick up this distortion weapon at Port Olisar or 6162 Alpha UEC, or at Levski, which is now Tammany and Sons at Lorville, for 6,328 Alpha UEC. So everybody, that concludes that part of the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and work on the exit here, and then let's talk about some takeaways and recommendations for laser repeaters. Let's talk about the main differences. The laser repeater. Out of the 3 types of laser repeaters, the Attrition has the best DPS, but you have to use it in close. The NDB is the best all-around average, medium range type of laser repeater, and the CF series has the best range, and it is the best for stealth. For the ballistic repeaters, compared to the ballistic Gatlings, they have higher alpha damage and a better range than a Gatling. The ballistic Gatling has a higher DPS, higher ammo speed, higher ammo count than a repeater. They will last longer. And then the distortion repeaters, they take down shields very quickly, but you must use them in combination with another weapon. The best overall DPS, now this is really just size 3 and below, but the best really overall DPS is the Attrition series, pound for pound. The best range is the Bearing ballistic repeaters. The ballistic repeaters by Bearing actually have the best range. The best range, I guess I repeated that twice for best range. The best stealth for infrared is the Galdereen Gatlings ballistics and the Class Inverter CF series for the lasers. So the best for IR is the Gatling guns by Galdereen and the Class Warner CF series for lasers. The best overall alpha damage is the Maxox series, the Neutrons. Like I said, it's overall, on average, pound for pound, the highest alpha damage for a laser repeater, for really all the repeaters, is the Maxox Neutron repeaters. The best projectile speed, meaning the fastest, is the Klaus and Werner laser repeater series. And the best stealth, or EM, is once again the Gallants and Gatling guns for the Balistics, the Klaus and Werner CF series lasers. So, my 3.12.1 build generalizations, I typically, and if you watch my videos, use a most often combination of attrition repeaters and ballistic Gatling guns. That gives me the highest amount of DPS because I like to fight in close and I like to use guns. If you like to fight a little bit further away, then I would suggest going with the medium range stuff, probably the Bearing ballistic repeaters and the Maxox Neutron repeaters. If you like to fight from even further away, the longest range you can, and still want to use a repeater and not a cannon, then I would use the Klaus and Werner laser repeaters, then probably also the ballistic repeaters. If you want to take down shields really fast, add a distortion or two in there, and you will take them down really fast. There's also distortion scatter guns and stuff like that too. So we are going to talk about scatter guns. We're going to talk about gimbals. We're going to talk about bespoke weapons, because some of you might be asking, well, hey, the Vanguard series have repeaters. Yes, but they're bespoke, meaning you have to have certain type of size 2 weapons to go in the Vanguard series. They don't fit on any other ship. So I consider, well, you can swap them out. I consider them bespoke. So we're going to talk about bespoke weapons, especially Vanduul ships have bespoke weapons. We're going to talk about, in some of these next videos, we're going to talk about cannons. We're going to talk about vehicle weapons, actual weapons on vehicles, not space vehicles, but ground vehicles. And we're going to talk about FPS weapons. FPS weapons is going to be a long video because there's a ton of FPS weapons. So that stuff might not be weapon for weapon. It might just be categories to keep it as short as I can. I mean, this video is already almost an hour long. So I hope you guys learned something from this. I certainly enjoyed putting it out for you. And hope to see you in the verse. And Fist and Jawa live streams are going to try to be more, we're going to try to be more consistent with them. So look to probably see one maybe once a week on YouTube Live, and we'll try to actually schedule them and put them out. So, hey guys, if you like this video, please drop a like and subscribe on the video. We definitely need more subscribers, so feel free to share these videos on YouTube and Instagram or Twitter, whatever social media platform you use. We could, like I said, definitely use more subscribers, get monetized, and we're just going to push the money back into the community. Ship giveaways, things like that. So, until then, have a great day and enjoy messing around with new laser repeaters or ballistic Gatling guns, and good night, Stan.